Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. With this slump that I'm on, the slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports, Thursday, November 20th. Bad day on the show yesterday, obviously. 2-4. Should not have pushed it. I got too greedy with with college basketball. I should have just not gone with either of those favorites. Those were both bad calls. Those were both losers. I don't know what else to tell you. I should have noticed that, I'm not saying I didn't notice, but I should have weighed more heavily the fact that, Texas Tech was still that close to Illinois in the previous game, despite only having, 4 free throws or whatever. So that was a bad indicator for Illinois. I still liked how the spot set up, though. I still probably would have gone with all 3 of those underdogs, though, and 2 of them just did not come through with those huge numbers. Sometimes that does happen, but I liked the spots. Did not want to dissuade Saab from Mount St. Mary's. I just had to point out the way that I saw it, but they did cover easily, only losing by 5, and that was not one that I loved as much because of the injured player spot from Maryland and whatever. I still leaned that way, but I didn't think it was as strong. That was an easy one. Valpo wound up being really easy as well for Saab there. I think he played those. My plays were horrible. UConn, Illinois. The UConn number, I didn't even know what was going on in the market. It had already gone up to 7.5, and then by the time the game tipped off, it was down to 4.5. It was I think there were conflicting opinions on that game. That market read was... Yeah, I don't know what was going on with it. Some of these college basketball games, I just have to go in situation because the market read in the morning is almost impossible. I just can't even do it. And then, I still like the situation with the other ones. Bellarmine got there, so that was a decent start to the rest of the college basketball. That was an easy cover. I think they only lost by 8 or 9. Kansas City and Jackson State both fell short. Jackson State fell short by a lot. Even though you get into the end of those games and it's garbage time and it's which way is this going to go? Part of the handicap is you're hoping that the favorite is just going to pull their foot off the accelerator because they don't really have incentive to keep their foot to the gas. Sometimes it doesn't work out, although it's worked out more often than it hasn't for me. Although, I'm still up in college basketball this year, but now over the last 3 years, because last year was so bad, I'm slightly down again. I don't know, I'm pissed, but I'm still up this year. Been hot. There are going to be some regression days, hopefully not too many. We won on the last game with the Portland Trailblazers. That game was all over the place. The line actually went up to 4.5, and then it came back down. I think it tipped off at 3.5. I gave it a 3 on the show. Hopefully somebody got one of those numbers. I think they covered every number, though, because they only lost by 1. And in the end, it looked like they were going to win the game. Portland was winning the game and playing it close for the first half. They had a really bad third quarter, and then they were all of a sudden down double digits, and I'm thinking this game is over. They're not going to cover either. They made a really nice fourth quarter comeback, and they actually had the lead. They were winning by 3, I think, in the final 20 seconds of the game, and still blew it again and wound up losing by 1, but they covered. I mean, I'd rather have the money line hit as well, though. Jeffrey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Let's get into today. We're going to have a bunch. I'm going to have 3 college basketball plays, 3 hockey plays, and I'm not going to do anything with any of the other crap. I'll give out an opinion on the NFL game, the college game. NBA, there's not a whole lot going on. There's not much that I like in the NBA. I mean, there isn't really anything. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. I feel like I'm just blind at this point in college basketball, man. I rely on the situational stuff, and then I don't know, man. We were rolling. It's been good overall, but man, last night is one of those nights where you just, I don't know. You want to just potentially end it all, and it's like nothing that you thought was going to happen happened. All right, where the hell is this first game? We have a bunch of tournament games, so they get split, they get put somewhere else on the board, I think. The first game up, I'm going to have a play in this game because fuck it. I can't stop myself. This whole show is the best bet segment as usual. We're going to go with Southern Indiana plus 9.5, or you might even be able to get a better number on this against Incarnate Word in this Daytona Beach tournament that's this afternoon. This is going to be at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, so this starts right away. We're gonna start out either 1-0 or 0-1 right away. The money's coming in an Incarnate Word, which I don't like. Up from 8 to 9.5 here. 56% of tickets, 79% of the cash on them. The total's down, though, to a pretty low number of 147, which low total, you tend to want to look towards taking the points, in my opinion, because the points are worth a little bit more. Southern Indiana, I mean, this is a team that they have not won a game against a Division I team yet, and now you're asking them, Incarnate Word, neither team has, but Incarnate Word, you're asking them to cover a 9.5-point spread, and they don't have any Division I wins. I don't know about that, man. I mean, yes, they are the better team. Ken Palm does have them 190th, which is better than I thought, and they're actually low in his luck index and very high in their strength of schedule. So those are things that I would tend to want to play on that team. I'm not going to do it here, though. They play a slow pace, so I think that's going to not be as conducive to covering a large number either. For Southern Indiana, yes, they're bad. Yes, they play a faster tempo, so Incarnate Word. You could argue that Incarnate Word is correlated to the under here because they want to slow the game down, but I'm going to argue that them slowing the game down is also going to make it more difficult for them to cover the spread here. Southern Indiana is at least better defensively than offensively, so they might be able to also keep this game lower scoring, stay within this number. They're also really low in Ken Palm's luck index, so they have not faced a difficult schedule. So neither team, yes, the strength of schedule is something, but I think it's actually going to impact this game in a negative way for Incarnate Word, which I'll talk about in a second. For Southern Indiana, yes, they don't have any Division I wins either, but they were at least somewhat competitive against VMI and South Dakota. I know that's not saying much. They lost at Butler, which was very expected. But I think they're in a better position here because they finally got a win, even though it was against a Division II team, Loras. The Lorax? I don't know. Are they environmentalists now? I don't know. Some Dr. Seuss shit going on. They won that game, though, and I think that's good because that will break their losing momentum at least and give them some confidence moving forward. They won't be overconfident. Now they got to go down to Daytona Beach here for this game. But for Incarnate Word, I think they're in a worse position here because they just played Indiana pretty well. That was a big game, Incarnate Word. That's the biggest game on their schedule all year. I believe they played 2 power conference teams. They played TCU later in the season because Incarnate Word is a Texas school, so they get one Texas team from one of the bigger conferences mixed in there. But Indiana was the best team they're going to face all year. And they put up a really good performance in this one, covering a 28.5-point spread. The game was never really in question for Indiana winning the game, though. I mean, Indiana just took off. But I think what happened is Indiana took their foot off the gas too early. And Incarnate Word gave a full effort in this game, and they came back to within 6 points. I think they actually got within 5 with like a minute and a half left. So Incarnate Word, now they're coming off this huge game where they put in a full effort on the road against Indiana. That's why I don't like it. I think they're going to be a little bit hungover after that. That was a max effort, whereas the scheduling spot, I think, sets up a lot better for Southern Indiana. I know they're the worst team, but the odds makers are telling you that. And I think maybe they're giving Incarnate Word a little bit too much credit here, even though they look like they're improved over what they have been the last few years, because they're fairly new to Division I. Both of these teams are. But I don't trust one of these somewhat newcomers to Division I who hasn't really done anything except playing decently against Indiana. I don't like asking them to cover by a huge margin here. So we'll take the points. Southern Indiana. That's the first play. Blizzy, what's up, man? Blizzy, you're using my show to advertise. I shouldn't have brought the comment up. Don't listen to this guy. I'm giving you shit up for free, man. Don't advertise on my show, bro. Also, yeah, I mean, you want to click a sketchy Telegram link from that guy, or do you want to just watch me? All right. We also have another Daytona Beach game later in the afternoon, UIC and High Point. I mean, this is definitely a better game than the other one. UIC, they're coming off, I believe, a close call against Chicago State. Yeah, so Chicago State, very bad team, but they stepped up their game against another Chicago school, UIC, so that was expected. I think the Chicago State put together a good effort there. So UIC might refocus after that. They might have already been looking ahead to this game. UIC coming off a game where they should have won by more than they did. They were 9.5-point favorites, barely won. But they're facing a better High Point team. I mean, we know High Point made the tournament for the first time last year. I think they might still have the same coach there too, and they're bringing over that kind of vibe again this year. They're off to a pretty good start this year, although they haven't totally been battle tested yet. They're certainly the better team, though. They're coming off an easy win over Canisius. I don't really see much to this game. High Point's definitely the favorite. They're up a little bit from 8-8 with juice, 75% of tickets, 96% of the cash. High Point, they like to go fast and not play defense. I mean, that is the case. As Ken Bum is showing you them here, and they're at 86 in the country. He's got UIC. Where does he have UIC? He must have them as Illinois, Chicago, or something. If I can type it. Where are they? Yeah, there they are. He has them in 138th, which isn't too bad, and they're more of a mid-tempo team, which I thought they were actually a little bit slower than that. He's got them pretty mid-tempo. High Point will try to push the pace, though, so High Point, I think, is still correlated to over in this game as well, because they're going to want to go faster than UIC will want to go. I don't have a whole lot else to that game, though. Memphis and Purdue on CBS Sports, kicking off the evening slate here, is one of the bigger games. There aren't really many big games today because it's a Thursday. This will be one of the bigger games, and this game is actually in the Bahamas. So we're getting all these weird, we're getting into the holiday season now, so you get all these weird in-season tournament things going on here. So that's what this is. Some of it's going to have to do with which team do you think is going to travel better. Memphis is not very good, dude. Like, I still think they carry all this, weight behind their name, but as we saw in their last game, they're not that good, as we went against them on the show here with UNLV, which was a wire-to-wire outright upset from UNLV. It was a bad spot, though. Part of the handicap was that Memphis was going to be looking ahead to this game, and I think they were, so I do think we're going to get a better effort out of Memphis here. Is it going to be enough? I don't know, because Purdue's number one in the country right now. I think they're one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the entire country. Ken Bum has them 4th. I mean, his rankings are shuffling all over the place right now, but Purdue is obviously legit, and they're probably the most experienced. Out of the teams that are the best in the nation, they're also the most experienced, and they got Kaufman-Renn back, so he's been back for 2 games now. We went against Purdue, actually, in their last game, and with them in the game before that, where they beat Alabama. I thought it was a nice spot to refocus after the lackluster game against Oakland. They beat Alabama, huge win. Then I thought they were in basically a letdown spot against Akron. We got that right as well. Akron covered against Purdue by 1.5 points, but hey, it's still a cover. Purdue, I kind of expect Purdue to bring more focus here. I just think that Akron game was just like a throwaway game for them, which was the handicap there. So both of these teams played badly in their last game, so I expect them both to be focused here. And if that's the case, I think you got to kind of lean to the better team, which is Purdue. Memphis looks like they might be kind of a public side because the public is seeing Purdue laying a ton of points, up from 15 to 16. I think it does look a little bit tempting to take the points with Memphis, even though Purdue's ranked number 1. Memphis is not ranked at all. Memphis just has that name recognition, man. I think the perception might still be that that line is a bit too high. I'm not sure that it is. 54% of tickets, 56% of the cash on Memphis. I like Purdue in this one if I was going to do anything with it. I'm not going to. Memphis also wants to play really fast, and Purdue wants to play really slow. So there's definitely a pacing dichotomy here. Memphis is only 76th in KenPom's rankings, which is not great. So yes, I would say that Purdue might actually be correlated to an under in this game, but again, you'd be asking them to lay a ton of points as a slow-paced team. Total is somewhat high at 159. I think the odds maker's trying to bridge the gap there between slow and fast. But Purdue does score, though. For like a slow-paced team, Purdue has a really efficient offense, like near the top in the country. So they can still score, even though they play slow, so there are fewer possessions, which I think might be enough to get them over that number. But to allow them to score enough to cover that, but I don't want to touch it. Of course, Lindenwood and Indiana, we just saw Indiana had a pretty lackluster game against Incarnate Word, which could mean that Indiana's going to show up with a bit more focus here because they pretty much lapsed in focus at the end of that game, and it got maybe a little bit close for comfort. But they do have Kansas State next in 5 days, so it is potentially a look ahead to Kansas State. Not quite sure that Indiana really will take Lindenwood totally seriously. Lindenwood is pretty bad, but Indiana is also up to a 34.5-point favorite. I'm not interested in it, even though there are some indicators that maybe Indiana would refocus here. The indicator being that they looked bad at the end of the last game, but I'm not so sure I would want to bank on that, so that's not going to happen. A couple of discords. That's gay, dude. Thank you, though. That's probably why this Blizzy guy is coming in and, I don't know, because he's on Twitter, so I don't know. I have these gambling bots on Twitter and whatever, but thank you for promoting the show, man. Hopefully we get more views from that. And, of course, the day that you do it, I have my worst day in the last, 2 months, so that's great, or one of the worst. JC, what's up? Thanks for hanging out, man. What other games we got here, man? I don't know. I'm not interested in talking about too many of these, really, but, there aren't really any interesting things setting up in most of these games. You got St. John's playing this awful Bucknell team. Bucknell coming off getting smashed by Pittsburgh, so Bucknell couldn't even really put in a great effort in a game where you would think that they would because Pittsburgh is in their area and considered to be like a geographical big brother, and they still couldn't do it. St. John's might be able to just run this team out of the building. St. John's could be looking ahead, I guess, to Iowa State, Baylor, Mississippi. They got a bunch of bigger games up next, so I wouldn't really want to do anything with St. John's either, but they want to go fast, and Bucknell wants to go slow. So if St. John's is going to push the pace, that could really, really throw Bucknell out of whack there. But St. John's might not really care about doing that, though, with bigger games on deck. Tennessee and Tennessee State. Tennessee State will try to get up for this because they're a little brother in the state of Tennessee. Tennessee hasn't been battle-tested yet, and they do have Rutgers and Houston, Syracuse, Illinois, Louisville all up next. So it is possible they just don't really bring a lot of focus in this game. We still don't know how good Tennessee is this year because, again, they've had a really weak schedule to start the season. So that's one that I might be more interested in looking to fade the better team in that one. Tennessee, as we also know in recent years, with Rick Barnes there and whatever, Tennessee has been a slow-paced team, and you can see that that's the case again here. Tennessee, much better defensively and slow, so that's not a good recipe for covering large numbers. Tennessee State, I mean, they've faced some all right. I think they've actually faced a more difficult schedule than Tennessee. Facing Belmont and Western Kentucky on the road, those teams are not that bad. So, yeah, I mean, in that one, I would be less hesitant to take the points in that one, the 32 with Tennessee State there. Again, especially because Tennessee likes to slow it down. But am I interested in it? Not really. New Mexico and Nebraska. This is a very weird and interesting matchup. This is going to be in Kansas City, so it's a location that probably helps Nebraska a bit more than New Mexico. Probably you'll get more Nebraska fans showing up for this one, even though they're more of a football school. New Mexico is like a different thing this year, man. Something that I don't recognize New Mexico this year right now. I mean, New Mexico, I'm used to them being this like fast-paced team, just going crazy fast, trying to run teams out of the building. They're not doing that this year. They're more of a slow-paced team this year, and they're coming off a pretty ugly loss. They really have not been tested yet, and they just lost to in-state little brother New Mexico State, which was at New Mexico State, though. And New Mexico was only a 3.5-point favorite here, so I do think New Mexico is down this year from where they were the last few years, but sometimes when you take your first loss, it will hang you over into the next game. And because that was a rivalry game, I mean, I could see that maybe setting up a hangover spot here. I could also see the argument New Mexico might bounce back, though, because losing to a little brother like that can anger you. And I think New Mexico should be focused here on Nebraska because New Mexico doesn't really have any big games coming up. So this is going to be their biggest game of the season so far. And it's in this, Hall of Fame classic in Kansas City. Nebraska should also show up for this, but they are coming off a pretty big win over Oklahoma. That was a good win for Nebraska. It was a closely lined game. It was at Nebraska. Oh, no, it was in Sioux Falls. I was going to say, I thought it was in Nebraska. No, it was at Sioux Falls. So the oddsmakers actually were indicating that Nebraska is actually better than Oklahoma right now, which is interesting because that was not the case last year. Oklahoma seemed like this team that was kind of on the rise last year. They made the tournament. Nebraska has missed the tournament, I think, for a couple of years now. Either way, though, I think you could argue Nebraska's in a bit more of a letdown spot here, though. I don't know. I mean, based on the situation, I almost want to slightly lean New Mexico in this one. The money seems to agree. Nebraska up from 6 to 7.5, 56% of tickets on them, 69% of the cash coming back on New Mexico. And now that New Mexico likes to play slow, getting an underdog, getting a bunch of points that likes to try to slow the pace down is not really a bad thing. Nebraska actually is the faster tempo team this year, and they don't play terrific defense. Nebraska's more of an offensive team this year, so also kind of weird, trying to still figure out what style these teams play this year. I'll give a slight lean to New Mexico getting the points there, but nothing that I really love. Vandy is getting Texas Southern here. Vandy, they've had an extremely weak schedule so far, I would say. They played one power conference team, but it was UCF. I don't really see that being a huge deal. Yeah, I mean, they've had a very weak schedule so far, and they're getting Texas Southern, who's also a pretty weak opponent, though. But Texas Southern, they've faced a more difficult schedule, which is part of the reason why they have no wins. But they've faced Gonzaga and Texas A&M on the road. They actually played competitively against Samford and Texas State. Texas State being on the road as well. It's possible that Texas Southern could compete in this game and at least maybe come within this huge number. Although Ken Bum has Vandy ranked really high right now, it's shockingly high. He's got Vandy 14th in the country right now. I'm not quite sure that that's going to be accurate. Vandy is down from a 36-point favorite to a 34-point favorite here. Fairly high total, although it's dropped to 166. But I would probably take the points with Texas Southern there, but I'm not really excited about it, let's say. Just another interesting one there, I guess. That Vandy, we just have no idea who they are yet. But more battle-tested is Texas Southern. So Pacific, I was right about them after they were coming off that close call against Long Beach as a big favorite. Pacific barely got by them. Pacific showed up and had a much better game against Cal State Fullerton. Now they got to travel across the country to an unfamiliar venue and play in Boca Raton, the mouth of the rat, and play FAU, although we know this is not the FAU team that made the what did they made the Final Four a couple of years ago, right? Whatever it was with Dusty May. That's the coach? He's at Michigan now, of course. So this FAU team is not that anymore. But Pacific having to travel cross country looks pretty difficult to me in this spot for them. Florida Atlantic, they just beat some non-Division I team to bounce back. They face a somewhat difficult schedule, I guess, facing Boston College. I mean, they're not good, but they're at least an ACC team. Charleston, Liberty, I mean, those are decent, like, mid-major teams. And then they were off for a while. They used that rest, I guess, wisely or whatever and beat a non-Division I team. So, and FAU staying in Florida as well. So the setup here is better for FAU. That's the way I would look in that game. Just pointing it out. It's not a play for me. Florida Atlantic, where are you? Yeah, they're down from 8 to 7 here, though, but I would probably lay it with FAU in that one. Correct. Yeah, Boca Raton. That was mentioned on the show at some point within the last couple of weeks. It makes a lot of sense when you consider who are the people who are living there. Let's not get this channel nuked. What else do we even want to talk about here? Iowa gets Chicago State. Chicago State's coming off that big effort against UIC, I think. Have they played a game since then? Oh, no, they did. They played Minnesota. Actually, interestingly, Chicago State actually played okay against Minnesota on the road. Came to within 12. So are they going to be able to put up an effort like that again and have multiple straight games with a lot of effort and do it again against Iowa? I'm not so sure they're going to be able to. Chicago State, they face a pretty difficult schedule so far, though, so they are at least battle-tested. Iowa, looking pretty good so far, but they're not really battle-tested. Their best win was over Xavier, and we know Xavier's pretty down right now. There is the possibility, though, that Iowa overlooks Chicago State because they got Ole Miss and then Michigan State, Maryland, Iowa State all coming up after this, so Iowa might not put in a full effort here, and we know Iowa with Ben McCollum now there is slowing the pace down a bit, slowing it way down to the point where Iowa's the 7th slowest team in college basketball. But Chicago State, I think, wants to play slow as well. But slow pace like that is not the recipe for covering a giant number like this, up to 32.5. So I don't think I could do that. Like, there's no way that I could lay that with Iowa, even if they are the way better team. Total's down to 144, so the total's pretty low. I mean, that game does seem like an under type of game for sure, but lost some value on the total there. And I don't do a whole lot with college basketball totals, but normally, like, if the total's pretty low, I mean, it's low for a reason. If it's high for a reason. So I think usually you want to look to go under the low totals and high over the high totals, which seems counterintuitive, I know. ESPN2 gets this other Daytona Beach game later at night between Pitt and UCF here. For UCF, that's going to be, obviously, it's a geographic advantage for UCF because they're probably like a few hours drive from Daytona Beach, something like that. They're in like the Orlando area. Pittsburgh's going to show up, I would imagine. I think both teams are going to show up. They're both big conference teams. Pitt might be a little bit more satisfied, though, after smacking down Big Brother Bucknell. Nice bounce back for Pitt after they got embarrassed at West Virginia. So that was another reason why you might have expected Pitt to just show up and just want to take out their frustrations on their little brother and bully him. Bucknell is definitely not good this year. Pitt now having to go down to Florida, though, to face UCF after a satisfying win. Maybe not the greatest spot for Pitt here. UCF coming off barely beating Oakland. And if you remember, I think I gave out Oakland as a play on the show. That was an easy win. Oakland covering the number there. UCF was coming off a nice upset win at Texas A&M, who I think is down a little bit this year. UCF barely got by Oakland, and now they get Pitt. So this does look like a bounce-back spot for UCF here. So I would lean to UCF in this one. This one's not on my card because I do think both teams are going to show up. And I don't think Pitt is necessarily going to be in a letdown spot, but that is a satisfying win when you crush your little brother like that, man. And now the venue favors Central Florida here, and Central Florida is coming off a really lackluster game against Oakland. So I like Central Florida. The money seems like it's agreeing with that now is Pitt did flip from a 1-point dog to a 1.5-point favorite. 67% of tickets on them, but 61% of the cash coming back on UCF. So the money seems to be agreeing on UCF at this point. For UCF, they actually play somewhat fast. I think both of these teams actually like to. Oh no, Pitt plays slow. What am I saying? So if UCF is gonna get this done, they might be able to control the pace here and speed this up. Pitt also pretty lucky in Ken Palm's luck index at 51st. I'm tempted to play this actually, and hilariously, UCF is right behind Pitt in Ken Palm's rankings. Although Pitt actually is the better defensive team, UCF is the better offense. That does make more sense because UCF is a fast-paced team. So usually that's what you see with teams that are that type of style. They usually just score and don't play a lot of defense. Both teams high in Ken Palm's luck index, though. I'll leave it alone, but I do like UCF in that one. Taco Fall, where is he now? He was on the Celtics very, very, very briefly. Those tall guys seem to not last, man. Faco Tall. I don't know. The guys that are as tall as he is, they seem to just not last. Like, they just wear down. But, yeah, I remember UCF got into the tournament with him. Gave Duke a scare in one of those games, I think in like a 1 versus 8 or 1 versus 9 matchup when he was on UCF. UCF is not that good anymore, but neither is Pitt. So, that's what I have to say about that. Long Island and Fordham is a geographic type of rivalry here. Long Island's coming off a nice win over James Madison, and they do have Illinois up next, but I just don't think they're going to overlook Fordham because Fordham is still kind of a bigger brother to them in the New York City area. Fordham coming off an easy win over some Division II Manhattan school, whatever this is, Manhattanville. Not to be confused with Manhattan, who's a D1 in the MAAC. The setup is a little bit better for Fordham still, just having this game not really surrounded by anything big. Fordham has dropped from a 3.5-point favorite to a 3-point favorite, though. I mean, I would probably still slightly lean towards laying it with them because I think the spot is worse for Long Island, but I do expect them to show up. Elon, we faded them, or him. We faded Elon in the last game, and Gardner-Webb was able to make a huge comeback in that game and get back within the number there at the end, luckily. I think we kind of got away with one in that one. I thought Elon was going to be looking ahead to Miami, which I think maybe to some extent they were, which is why they started packing it in early in that game, and Gardner-Webb got in the back door. Miami's coming off a tough game against the University of Florida, man. That was a big game for Miami in the Geico-Jacksonville Hoops Showdown, which was more of a favorable venue to Florida because they just have more fans up there in northern Florida, for one thing. It's closer to Gainesville, but I think Florida, just in basketball generally, I mean, they're the bigger basketball program right now, too. They just have more fans than Hawaii does, than Miami does, I think. Dude, my brain just doesn't work. This game wasn't really that close, though. I mean, Miami lost by double digits. They were hanging around for a while, but the game was out of reach for a bit, so I don't know how Miami's going to respond to that. It was still a big emotional get-up game for them and their first loss. So, yeah, I mean, the situation does seem to favor Elon in this one. Miami's a 21-point favorite. I would probably take Elon, but I'm not going to – there's no way I'm going to go anywhere near that game. How tall am I? 5'6". Which I thought people knew. People know that from Tower Gang lore, at least. Almost all of Tower Gang were all very short, especially me and Jose. But Top Lobster and Cole are not that much taller than I am. The only tall Tower Gang member is Clint. Clint is the only one who's 6 feet. all the rest of us are short. Yes, sir. Jose and I argue which one of us is the shorter of the two, though. I think I'm slightly taller than Jose. He is built really, really odd, man. Jose, like, he looks like the dwarves from Lord of the Rings, that type of build. Like, when you see him in person, it's insane, dude. He's 5'5", and he weighs like 200 pounds, but it's like mostly muscle. Like, he's not fat. He's built and he's wide. I don't even know how to describe it. It's crazy. Like, no human should even really look like Jose. I have no idea, dude. Wake Forest at Texas Tech is actually one of the better games of the night on CBS Sports. Actually, I skipped a couple of games. I'll go back to those. I'm just scrolling around here. Whoops. But Wake Forest, they're coming off that game where we lost the cover on UMass Lowell. I mean, I thought UMass Lowell was going to come within this number, and they looked good in the first half. UMass Lowell was in this game until they started sliding. Like, Wake Forest made a run at the end of the first half, and then I guess that gave them momentum, and that was it. And then the game got completely out of hand. I mean, it was looking like an easy cover for UMass Lowell throughout the first half there. That sucked. Because I thought Wake, I mean, they were coming off almost beating Michigan, and they had this Texas Tech game up next. I was like, there's no way, dude. Yeah, 61 points in the second half, just ridiculous. Thank you to UMass Lowell for that bullshit. So now Wake's coming off of that. I don't think that really matters. I mean, I think they'll show up for this game against Texas Tech. This game is in the Bahamas as well, in the Bahamar Championship, which here in Boston, that just sounds like Bahamas. The Bahama Championship, kid. This is one of the ones in the Bahamas. Texas Tech is the better of the two teams. They're ranked 15th. Not that the rankings mean everything, but they are better than Wake. Texas Tech's coming off a game that was not as impressive, where Milwaukee was actually hanging around in this game for a while, and it was a lower scoring game because that's what Texas Tech does. They play slow. This game was pretty much out of reach throughout the second half, although Milwaukee looked good early in the game. They were pretty competitive for about a half in the game. Yeah, I mean, because Texas Tech looked less impressive there, and the public might kind of want Wake here just because Wake plays faster. And Wake actually is not that bad this year, 49th at KenPom's rankings right now. Maybe they have a shot at a tournament berth this year, which would be the first time in a while. And they're an unlucky team in KenPom's rankings as well. Texas Tech, KenPom also has unlucky. He has them very slow, bottom like 60 in tempo. Very balanced offense and defense. Texas Tech's still the better team. I would look towards Texas Tech in this game, especially given that they look less impressive in the prior game. They're up from 8 to 10.5, though. So if you do like Texas Tech, you're losing a little bit of value on the number there. 50% of tickets, 71% of the cash on Texas Tech. So the money seems to agree with me on that one. I agree with myself. Yeah, I mean, we have Ohio State as a huge favorite against Western Michigan. Who cares? Tarleton State is against Rice. I mean, this is a Texas matchup here. Rice just had to face Tennessee, so that'll battle test them a little bit. Rice has faced Tennessee and Oregon, both on the road. So, I mean, Rice got blown out by Tennessee, but still, Rice is fairly battle tested right now. More so than Tarleton State, although Tarleton State has played SMU, LSU, and Baylor. Although those teams are all probably worse. Well, maybe not. I don't know about Baylor. Where's Baylor at now? Yeah, KenPom has them 25th, so that's actually not a bad opponent there. So Tarleton did play them fairly competitively. So, yeah, I mean, both teams are fairly battle-tested, I guess. Tarleton then got an easy win over a Division II team to bounce back from that Baylor game. So Tarleton actually, the scheduling set up well for them because they got that game in the middle there where they're not having to come into this Rice game immediately off of playing Baylor, because then I would think they'd be in a bit of a hangover spot. But because they had that other game in the middle there, I think it sets up a little bit better for them. Rice down from 4.5 to 4 here. 75% of tickets, 93% of the cash on Rice. Rice does look like they're better this year than, I don't know, that I've seen Rice ever be probably, which I know isn't saying much. But, I mean, I don't know what I would want to do with this game, to be honest. I think both teams probably will show up for it. Probably would slightly lean to taking the points of Tarleton State there, although I think Tarleton State, just like last year, I think they might be a little bit overrated again this year. At least for people that were paying attention to like the WAC last year, we're talking, oh my God, Tarleton State, they were winning so many games in conference, but they were just really not as good as they looked. And the wheels finally came off. Oral Roberts is at Oklahoma. We know, based on what I said about Oral Roberts back when they played well against Tulsa. They played okay against Oklahoma State, too. Oral Roberts is in Tulsa, so they take these games against these Oklahoma schools seriously. So this is a game against the biggest brother in Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma. So Oral Roberts will try to get up for this. And Oral Roberts is coming off a game against the Division II team, Haskell, who stole the Kansas name, the Jayhawks. Oral Roberts beat them, which I think is good because that broke like a losing streak for Oral Roberts, even though they don't have any Division I wins so far, but at least that breaks that losing momentum, gives them a little bit of winning momentum coming into this game, which I think is good. Oklahoma hasn't lost at home, but they've faced two really weak opponents at home. Actually, Oral Roberts will be better than the two teams that Oklahoma's faced at home so far in St. Francis and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Those are really bad teams. Oklahoma has been battle-tested in their non-home games, though, against Gonzaga on the road, and then a neutral site game against Nebraska, which was in Sioux Falls. But Oklahoma's coming off that close game against Nebraska, man, so I could see them maybe being a little bit hungover after that game. I would take the points with Oral Roberts here. Oklahoma's up to 24.5, though, from 24. 50% of the tickets evenly split and 62% of the cash on Oklahoma, though. So the money seems to be coming in on Oklahoma. I don't really agree with that. Central Arkansas and North Texas. By the way, I swear I have two more plays. They're just both late games. And I think they're better than the first one I gave out. The first one I gave out is just like a last minute, like it was one that I saw and I was interested in it, and then when I got to the end of the board, I'm like, yeah, screw it, let's add that one. So the one that I gave out already in Southern Indiana is my least favorite. Central Arkansas and North Texas here. Central Arkansas, they just played Samford really close. That was a win for us here on the show. Central Arkansas covered, took Samford into overtime. The handicap basically was that Samford was coming off a really good performance against Arkansas. So I thought Samford was going to be in a big hangover spot. Central Arkansas played them really well, took them to the wire, lost in overtime. Now, coming off that big performance, I think Central Arkansas might be in trouble here, man. I mean, they are road tested. They faced North Carolina and Arkansas both on the road. They did get blown out in both those games, though. But, of course, North Texas is not as good as either of those teams. But still, Central Arkansas, they haven't been good on the road. North Texas, 2-0 at home, and they're coming back home off of getting pretty embarrassed at St. Mary's, although we know St. Mary's is very good. North Texas was out on the Pacific Coast, played Oregon State close, and only lost that game because they tried to call a timeout with no timeouts left, if you remember that. Then I think after that, they were just in a bad hangover spot after that, man. After the way they lost that game, first loss of the season, St. Mary's blew them out of the building, which St. Mary's, they don't play fast, but that defense is pretty menacing. So that was a crazy low-scoring game. I'm pretty sure that game went under. It actually went over. The total was 128.5 at close. That is so. It was 131, dude. That number it landed 129, and the opener in that game was 131.5. So if you got the better number, you did get the under in that one. Oh man, I don't know. Some of these things make it seem like these games are rigged. Although in that one, like guys that try to do middles actually middled that one if they got the best number of both sides of the total. Although that's really a tight middle there. I don't know if anybody would really try to do that with a total. Usually people try to do it with like NFL sides because there's the most value at the points there. Anyway, North Texas, they got blown out. It was a pretty embarrassing loss, so I expect a better performance out of them here. But they are returning home from the Pacific Coast, so I worry about that a little bit. Other than that, I would lean to North Texas here. I would lay it, but the number actually dropped from 16.5 to 14.5. So some disagreement here. And the other, I guess, question with North Texas, with laying the points with them, is that they do play really slow. And I think Central Arkansas is also a slow-paced team, so low total of 134 here. It makes it a little bit more difficult to lay points in a situation like that. Central Arkansas actually is more of a mid-tempo team, but I expect North Texas to slow the pace down because that is what they always do, even under their new coaching regime. We'll see what happens. Houston is coming off that really difficult game against Auburn. They got the win. It was a good win for Houston, man. I mean, I know Houston didn't cover, but that's a battle. Now they play this awful Rider team who's in the MAAC, and up next they got Syracuse, Tennessee, Florida State. They got bigger games on the horizon, even though Syracuse has been down for years now. I think Houston's going to look right past Rider here. Do I think Houston's going to lose the game? No, obviously. I mean, they're a 40.5-point favorite here, but I don't think they're going to cover that number. They're up from 39 to 40.5. Money looks like it's coming in on Houston. I would not agree with that. 75% of tickets, 96% of the cash on Houston. Money coming in the under as well. It looks like Houston, I mean, we know Houston plays extremely low, slow pace, low scoring games, which is also not conducive to covering 40. Houston, I mean, they're not really going to be incentivized to cover that number either. Like, who cares? They're just going to want to get in, get out against a very inferior opponent. So I don't think Houston's going to cover. So I would take the points with Ryder in that one. All 4 North Texas games went under. Well, I mean, not on the closing number in that last one. The game went over. The North Texas St. Mary's one. It went over the closing number. It was just that tight. Cal Poly is at Utah. I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about that. Cal Poly in their last game hurt us because they almost came back to within that number against Montana and fell short on free throws. They've had some time off to try to bust that losing momentum, and they might show up because they're playing Utah. Utah's a big name. Utah's 5-0. The Utah, they face a very weak schedule so far, and Utah's not really as good as this record might suggest. And they do have Grand Canyon up next. Grand Canyon, they're like an upstart team, man. So I see potentially Utah not being totally focused in this one. Utah is up from 12.5 to 13, though. 80% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Utah. I would probably look to fade Utah in that one, though. I mean, obviously, I don't want to do it, but one of the bigger games actually tonight between 2 power conference teams here. We have 3 games between power conference teams all night, I think. No, we only have 2, I think, right? Yeah, because Memphis is not a power conference team. Oh, no, we have 3 because Pitt and UCF is one of them. Oh, God. Anyway, Mississippi State, Kansas State. This is an interesting game with 2 teams that are probably going to be like tournament bubble teams this year or something to that effect. This game's going to be on Peacock. So I guess Peacock is getting more than just Big Ten games now, which, by the way, I'm really pissed that Disney is going to be taking over March Madness in 2028. I hate it, dude. The CBS, TNT, TBS, True TV combo has been fine. Like, it's been that. It's been under the CBS banner for my entire life, and now Disney's going to take it over. They're going to fuck everything up, as usual. They're adding, they already added ads to Red Zone. Like, fuck that shit. Yeah, I hate it. And you're probably going to have to pay for it, whereas right now there's a free March Madness app where you can watch all the March Madness games. Probably won't be able to anymore. I fucking hate it. The tournament is, one of my favorite events. Fuck Disney. Hopefully this channel doesn't get nuked. Mississippi State, I mean, they've only been battle tested once, and they did lose to Iowa State, although they played decently in the game. They lost by 16. Iowa State's just better than they are. They bounced back with a win over Southeastern Louisiana. Not that impressive, although Southeastern Louisiana is one of the better teams in the Southland Conference. The Mississippi State only beat them by 7. But coming off of that, maybe that makes Mississippi State look a little bit worse than they actually are, possibly. Now they get Kansas State. This is in one of these neutral site games. This is in Kansas City in the Hall of Fame Classic. So the location does help Kansas State. Obviously, it's closer to Kansas State geographically. Kansas State is less battle-tested right now. Biggest game was against Cal. They won that game. Coming off of that, they barely beat Tulsa. That was one of my plays on the show. Tulsa covered for us because Kansas State was coming off that big win over Cal. They had this game up next against Mississippi State, so I just thought they were going to be in a bad sandwich spot there. Tulsa almost pulled off the upset, so that is going to put a scare into Kansas State, and they are playing closer to home, so I mean, to me, I can see arguments for both sides here, which is why I struggle with this game. The money is coming in towards Mississippi State, up from 2.5 to 2.5 with the juice. 67% of tickets, 93% of the cash on them. I'll agree with it. I mean, I think a situation where both teams are going to be focused, even though the venue seems to help Kansas State a bit because it's in Kansas, or in Kansas City, excuse me. I think it's actually in Missouri. But, yeah, I think Mississippi State's the better team, though, as the odds makers are telling you. But people are going to see that they're 2-1. Kansas State's 4-0. I think the public might have a tendency to maybe even lean a little bit towards Kansas State for that reason. So what the odds makers are telling you kind of differs than what the perception might be there. So, yeah, I would lean to Mississippi State in that one. But it's not a strong opinion. Kansas State has only covered once, and all 4 of their games have gone over. Mississippi State has not covered. That means there's probably some regression in store as far as the covering, although both teams haven't been covering. But that's just because the reason why these teams haven't covered, though, except for the Mississippi State in Iowa State game, is that these teams they're overvalued in the market just because they're facing like lower conference teams. Like that's why. So there's nothing to really, I don't think there's anything to really take away from that. Like we know that that's the case. Like when these big conference teams are facing these awful teams, the big conference team is almost always going to be skewed in the market. Like there's almost always going to be value in the number going the other way, if that makes sense. Because the odds makers just have to skew it that way because they know the public is only going to be on that more popular team. You're on Mississippi State and the under. All right, good luck with that. I think I don't like the under in that one. The Mississippi State side, I'll agree with. The total's moving up to 163.5, and I think we're looking at 2 teams that do not play slow. I know Kansas State plays fast, 37th in the country. Mississippi State, where are they at? KenPom has them slightly better. They play fairly fast as well in the top 100. I don't like the under in that one. I mean, you got 2 pretty fast-paced teams going at it there. All right, let's get to my plays. More best bets, even though I think I already threw out the graphic. Already an hour in. God. We're going to lay the points with USC, minus the 18.5. This is a terrible spot for Troy. The money's coming back on Troy. It looks like you might be able to lay 18. Money is seeming to disagree with me on this. Whatever. I don't like it. I don't like when the market looks like it's disagreeing with me, but it's so early in the day, you never even know what this market is going to look like by the end of the day because early in the day, it's so difficult to read these college basketball games. Like it's almost like I shouldn't even bring up this screen. 67% of tickets on USC, 57% of the cash on Troy. I don't like the spot for Troy at all, dude. Troy, they're a decent team. They're pretty good for a Sun Belt team. They're decently battle-tested. I get all that. But look at the game they're coming off of, dude. 2 days ago, they went into San Diego State. They've actually been out on the Pacific Coast now since Friday the 14th. So this is going to be their 4th and final game of the road trip here. So you got to think they're getting fatigued. But if that's not ridiculous enough, they went into San Diego State as 14.5-point underdogs. We know San Diego State has a very good basketball reputation. Troy went in there and they beat them outright in 2 overtimes in a massive upset, plus going 2 overtimes. I mean, come on, man. I mean, and Troy was way ahead late in the game, blew the game. They were out to a good start at the beginning of the game, too. They blew the lead late, had to go into overtime. They fell behind in both overtime periods, still won the game 2 nights ago. I mean, you got to think they're going to be totally out of gas after that. And San Diego State does typically play a pretty physical style, physical defense under, what's their coach's name? I think he's still there. He's been there forever. The dude with the gray hair, I forget his name. I saw him live in the tournament not too long ago, a couple of years ago, when they played against UConn and got destroyed in Boston. San Diego State, I mean, they're solid again. They play a good defense. They play slow tempo. 20th in the country defensively, according to KenPom, 229 in pace. So they're a team that beats you up, man. And now Troy's coming off of that. And it looks even more impressive because it went over 100 points for each team, but that's because it went to double overtime. Now they're going to turn around off of that and play USC. I know USC is a big name, but USC has actually been the lesser name in college basketball for a long time, dude. I mean, San Diego State was in the championship not that long ago. And when's the last time USC even made the tournament? I don't know. They might have snuck into it within the last couple of years, but San Diego State just has way more weight behind their name in basketball, man. That's just the way that it is. So even if USC is actually the slightly better team, which they might be, well, actually, I don't think they are, but USC is actually a little, actually, KenPom says that they are 20th in the country, so maybe there's line value here, too. So what was the line in this San Diego State? Yeah, no, it was 14.5, and this is 18, so the line is basically in line with what KenPom has. He has USC as the better team, but whatever. I still think San Diego State might get more of your attention just because they have all that name recognition recently in basketball, and Troy pulled off that upset. I just don't think they're going to have anything left in the tank by the end of this. USC, off to a 3-0 start. They haven't been tested yet, I know. Usually I don't want to play teams that haven't been tested, but they're rested. They haven't played since last Friday, whereas Troy has played multiple games since then, including that multi-overtime game the other day. And I know I talk about how when a team's been off for a while and they don't have any losses yet, and they went into that break on a good note, yeah, a lot of times they'll come out cold because the rest will turn into rust. I get that, but even if USC starts slow, we're going full game with this, so I think once the game starts and they get into it, they'll get back into it again. I know they do have Boise and Oregon up next. Those are fairly big games, and Boise's some neutral site game, but I don't think USC is not going to be focused here because they just saw what Troy did to San Diego State, and USC hasn't played for a while, so I think they're going to want to get back into rhythm here as well. And this is a pacing contrast, I believe. Troy, actually, they're a mid-tempo team. I kind of consider them to be a bit of a slower team, though. San Diego State plays slow and kept Troy kind of in that game. USC does not play slow. USC is 32nd in tempo, so I think that's going to throw Troy out of what they want to do as well. USC is going to push the pace, and Troy coming off 2 overtimes 2 nights ago, that's not good. Troy being the way more tired of the two teams, having to run up and down the floor all game, that's going to tire them out, man. So I think by the end of this, USC should be able to run away with this thing. Troy also in Ken Bum's luck index is 12th in luck index, so they're a team that it looks like you might want to fade here because he's telling you that they're overperforming a little bit. So USC minus the points. And then finally, we're going to go with St. Joe's plus the 9, even though I know they're in an unfamiliar environment going on the road to UNLV, but I don't like the spot. We can probably get 9.5 on this or maybe 10. I'm fading the market reading all 3 of these. This is what I have to say about the market in this one. I'm going based on situation. Hopefully I'm right. I know my college basketball wasn't good last year. The prior 2 years, it was really good, so I don't know. It's a roller coaster. 56% of tickets, 81% of the cash on UNLV. They're up from 9 to 9.5. I'll adjust these to give out the better numbers, but the only drawback I see for St. Joe's here is that they're having to go out to the Pacific time zone for a late night game, and I know I talk about how that's bad for these East Coast teams, like the biological clock phenomenon is bad. But UNLV's having to cross multiple time zones back too because they did just play in Memphis, so both teams are actually having to adjust time zones. So that kind of mitigates that a little bit. And I think it might actually be good for St. Joe's to just leave home, go out on the road because they just lost to Pennsylvania. St. Joe's is a favorite in the this was in that Big 5 Classic, which is that round robin Philadelphia thing. Penn got up for the game against St. Joe's, man. And I know St. Joe's hasn't been good on the road either. I get it, but that was a bad loss for St. Joe's, I would say, because Penn, I mean, they've been a pretty weak team for a while. They're in the Ivy, but they've been a weaker Ivy team. St. Joe's was supposed to win that game, and they were winning throughout the first half. They lost the game. Yeah, I mean, they had a bad shooting game, too. 38% from the field, 29% from 3. So I kind of expect St. Joe's to bounce back after that. I think they'll progress back to some sort of mean after how badly they shot in that game. They're facing UNLV, and I think UNLV is in a much worse spot. UNLV, as we know, for us, they pulled off that big upset on the road at Memphis. They were 9.5-point underdogs when the game went off. I gave them out of 10, I think, and they won the game outright. It was a huge win for them. They were, aside from the very beginning of the game, it was a wire-to-wire outright win for UNLV. Huge win for them, but if you look at what happened in this game, I mean, they shot 50% from the field. That was really good. Memphis had a ton of turnovers, 18 turnovers. UNLV did win the rebounding battle, but there were some outliers here as far as the numbers were concerned. Now UNLV's got to travel all the way back home, and they have Maryland and Alabama coming up after this, and Stanford. So I think they might overlook an A-10 team, man, because this game is a sandwich spot. It's sandwiched in between an upset of a team that's like always in the tournament, and then they got a Big Ten team, Maryland, who was really good last year, coming up next. I don't like the spot for UNLV at all, so we are going to fade them in that one. Those are my 3 college basketball plays. Jeffrey likes that because it's a Philly team. The Hawks, what are they? Are they the Hawks? I forget. St. Joe's, they're the Red Hawks, the Hawks? Or no, they're just the Hawks. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I thought they might. The Red Hawks are Miami, Ohio. FanDuel has money on St. Joe's. You're on St. Joe's and an under, parlaying the two. Yeah. So UNLV also, they play like, I think they play faster, right? Yeah, they're 50th in tempo, it looks like. Yeah, so St. Joe's does want to slow the game down slightly, but St. Joe's is somewhat of a faster team too, at 133rd in tempo. So, I mean, UNLV, I think, is probably correlated to an over because they like to play fast, and you need them to cover that number. And the money is coming in on the under, but that's only after the total went all the way up to 164.5. So hopefully you played the under at the higher number. It's a high number, but it's high for a reason, man. I don't think I agree with that under either, even though I like the St. Joe's side. I mean, you got 2 teams that play pretty fast tempo. Like, you're not really going to see me wanting to take an under in a game with 2 teams that play fast, especially when the home team wants to play even faster. So I'm not going to want to do that. I don't know if I had any closing thoughts here. Troy, by the way, I was going to just look at their numbers in that game against San Diego State just to see what happened in this game. And San Diego State had 20 turnovers in the game, man. So that was a bit of an outlier. Like, you usually don't see 20 turnovers from the home team. And San Diego State did out-rebound Troy, so that was kind of a misleading part of that game. Like, the result, I mean, it indicates the result was a little bit misleading, let's just say. And I don't know if I have anything else to say about any of the other games that I talked about already, but yeah, I mean, I think that's basically all I have to say about it. Incarnate Word, by the way, did get massively out-rebounded by Indiana. It was just a bad shooting game on the parts of both teams, so I don't know what else to say about that. I don't know how they came that close despite getting massively out-rebounded. Which rebounds the most predictive stat, makes that game look kind of skewed as well. All right, NHL. A lot of NHL games here. I'm going to have 3 NHL plays, and then I don't have anything else here. So I'm giving out all my plays early in the show. Well, early in the show. We're an hour in, but got to get this done so I can do the Instagram video on that stupid early game. The rest of my games, I think, are all night games. Yeah, so I have 3 hockey games. All the hockey's at night, and then my other 2 college basketball games I gave out are later than that. Columbus is at Toronto. In the market, it looks like there's a lot of money coming in on Columbus in this game, and I don't totally see it. I mean, Columbus is playing a 3rd game in 4 days here, all in different cities. They beat Montreal in a shootout. Then they struggled against Winnipeg with Elvis in net, and they lost by 3 goals, 5-2. Greaves should be back in net here for them, and he's been their primary goalie recently, so that might help them. It also means they'll have a rested goalie here, but I don't know, man. It's still 3 games in 4 days. They got Detroit coming up after this, which might draw their focus a little bit more than Toronto. They might still be in a bounce-back mode after losing 5-2, though, to Winnipeg. So, I don't know. I struggle to figure out this game. Toronto, I don't think they're really as bad as their 9-9-2 record looks. I don't know if I don't know what the situation is with the Austin Matthews injury here. Is he out for the season? I don't know. He's uninjured. It looks like he's not out for the season. The injured reserve works a little bit differently in hockey, I think, but he's not back yet. So Toronto's still without him. Toronto, they just got some momentum back, so I do like that. They had lost 5 games in a row, and then they bounced back with a win over St. Louis on Tuesday, and they were pretty rested prior to that. So you're looking at Toronto being the more rested team, staying at home, and they just broke a long loss streak, and sometimes ending that long loss streak will give you new momentum going forward. So to me, the spot doesn't look that bad for Toronto, except that you could argue they might have a look ahead to Montreal next, because Toronto and Montreal, that's a huge thing. They're both original 6 teams. They do not like each other. So that is the one thing that's the only thing that looks bad for Toronto in this game, to be honest. The money is heavily coming in on Columbus, though, flipping them from plus 115 to minus 109, 61% of the cash on them, 92% of the tickets on Toronto. I don't see why the public would be that heavy on Toronto, to be honest. The money's still moving around a little bit, but The market read is saying Columbus, and Toronto looks like they're almost headed to being a dreaded public home underdog, which you rarely see. I know I lost going against one the other day with Utah, but I still think Utah was the market read in that one when the game went off. I do not think they were a square side at all. I know my man Marco D'Angelo had that as one of his plays, because I go back and I look at those guys' paid plays after the fact, and he had Utah as one of his paid plays that day. So he and I think very similarly. So I don't think that one was a bad call at all. And Utah, of course, lost in the final 4 seconds. But anyway, back to this game. The money's all coming in on Columbus. So the market read is saying Columbus. I don't feel strongly about it. I mean, I guess I'll lean that way because it's such a strong market read. The only reason I could see for it is that Toronto, you could argue they're going to overlook Columbus because they have Montreal up next. But other than that, maybe the money is just coming in that way because maybe the professional guys just think Toronto's a bad team at this point. So, I don't know, man. I'm staying away, though. I don't want anything to do with that game. When money is irrelevant, Elon is a moron. He's either a lying propagandist or an absolute idiot when it comes to economics. You can't not have money. You need to have a medium of exchange. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a communist idea, what he's putting out there. It's ridiculous. Who was that? AA2 Brute. Louis Trutinen. I don't even know who that is. For Florida, are you serious? I don't even know who that is. For a barbecuing accident. Leafs coach is Berube. Is he a Rube? Won the Stanley Cup with the... Dude, don't remind me of that. You mean that was 2018, wasn't it? Because it was against my Boston Bruins. You want to remind me of that? The Bruins never should have lost that series if that's the Stanley Cup that you're talking about. The Bruins had that thing won. That was unbelievable bullshit. Bruins were the better team, too. That game, the Leafs coach, I still don't think that's that significant. That was so many years ago. Like, who even thinks about that anymore? I don't think that makes that win more significant. I really don't. I don't think that's a factor. I mean, that happened almost a decade ago, dude. Like more than half a decade ago. You're telling me, these teams are completely new, players and stuff, too, to a lot of an extent. You really think they're going to remember that? I do not. No, I don't think it matters at all. Columbus in a horrible rest spot. They're not in a great rest spot. Berube is the chief. The only chief is Robert Parrish, man. All right, next up, I'm going to give out a play. Montreal, money line. Minus 129 was the best I saw on this. They're up a little bit from minus 120 to minus 135. I think you'll still get it in a decent price range here. My hockey plays are all in decent money line ranges here, so I do like that. 83% of tickets, 99% of the cash. Montreal, they're looking like a little bit of a public side, but I think the actual money is on that side. I mean, the public just doesn't come in on hockey that heavily, really, especially when there are other sports going on, like football. The public is definitely going to be focused on that Thursday night football game. Washington, I think they're in a bad spot, dude. I mean, they're coming off just wrecking Edmonton, and not only did they do that, but that was last night. They beat them 7-4. That is a very satisfying win for Washington over Edmonton. And it was misleading, too, because there were 2 empty net goals at the end of the game. The game was 5-4 before that. So it was a much closer game than it looked like on the scoreboard. Edmonton outshot Washington. They out-face-offed them. Washington was the more physical team, but both of these teams I consider to be kind of more finesse teams. So coming off a misleading result and having to now travel up to Montreal for a single-game road trip. And by the way, Tampa Bay up next for Washington. Washington did just lose to Tampa Bay on November 8th, so they might be looking at that game for that reason. Although I'm not saying they're going to overlook Montreal, and Montreal's been really hot, but how do you travel with no time off of that win over Edmonton, which is huge, and it's misleading, and then really get ready for this Montreal game? I don't see it. Montreal, they're not going to overlook Washington, especially when Montreal's lost 4 games in a row, and Montreal has 2 days off. to prep for this. Yeah, they're coming back home, but they only went to Columbus, so it's not really a road trip return spot here. They were at home prior to that, so this spot looks way better for Montreal. I mean, am I worried that it might be Montembeault in net? I don't know if it will be because they've had so many days off. Dobes has still been kind of the guy. It might still be him, but I mean, Montembeault, I know, like, dude, I tried to fade Montembeault twice and lost both times. Like, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do? Montembeault, yeah, I mean, he's been giving up a lot of goals, but the 2 games that they won with him in net recently were the 2 games that I faded him. So I'm not going to fade Montembeault, but I just am not going to fade Montreal in this spot. This is a great spot for Montreal, I think. We have multiple days off to break that losing momentum. Like, that's what you want when you're losing a bunch of games. The best thing for you is to just get multiple days off, rest, figure it out, fix it, go out, focus on hockey. I think that's what they're going to do. I know they have a big game against Toronto up next, but you're on a 4-game slide. I don't think you're going to overlook a winning team like Washington. So we're going to go with Montreal on that one. The spot looks way better to me for Montreal. So that's what we're doing there. New York at Detroit. This is the Islanders at Detroit. We're not fading the Rangers on the road, although I know they just lost on the road. We're going with Detroit money line here against the Islanders. The Islanders, we're ready for some regression from the Islanders, I think. I mean, this Islander team, I don't know how they keep doing what they've been doing. This road trip has been insane for them, and they're still on this road trip. They've been on the road since Saturday, November 8th, although they started out in New York and New Jersey, so I guess they've been really out on the real part of the road trip since the 13th, but they played road games all the way going back to November 8th. They've been playing road games since then. This has to take its toll, dude, and not only that, but they're 5-1 on the road trip. They kept winning games that I thought they weren't going to win. I thought they'd win at the Rangers because I gave out the Islanders as a play in that one, and that was the Rangers at home. We know they can't win at home. The Islanders then went off of that, and they beat New Jersey, too. Okay, they beat both their, the city area rivals there. They go out west, and they beat Vegas in overtime. They beat Utah in overtime in elevation the next night. All 3 of those games in overtime. Then finally they had a flat spot in elevation again against Colorado. And then what did they do 2 days after that? They bounced back again going down to Dallas, and they beat Dallas. I mean, this is just getting absurd, dude, for the Islanders. Now they won at Dallas as a big underdog. Another huge win for the Islanders. They got to be in a letdown spot here. I don't see them having much left here, man. And this game was a little bit misleading, too. They did have a shorthanded goal in the third period. They gave them a 3-1 lead where Dallas probably could have tied the game at that point on a power play there. Dallas had more shots in the game. Dallas had 63.5% of the faceoffs won in that game, and the hits were close. So Dallas played fine in that game. It just didn't fall their way. Now the Islanders are coming off of that. They're playing Detroit, who, by the way, they beat 7-2 on October 23rd. So do you think Detroit's going to remember that? I think they will. When some team beats you and embarrasses you 7-2, even though that was at the Islanders stadium there, yeah, I think Detroit's going to remember that and probably have this game circled because that's kind of it sets up a bit of a recent revenge spot here. And again, this is the end of an already wildly successful road trip. I'm just not sure that Detroit's going to have anything left here. I think they're in a letdown spot. The schedule's been pretty packed for them recently, too. For Detroit, first of all, again, I think they're going to get up for it because they lost embarrassingly when they played the Islanders on the road. For Detroit, yeah, I mean, their schedule's been a little bit packed too, but they're not doing all this traveling. They've had one road game in the last week plus, basically. They've been at home for every game except one since November 7th. So for the entire time the Islanders have been on the road, Detroit's been at home except for one single game road trip to the Rangers. Sorry, Jeffrey. Because Detroit did get that win in that game. And then I almost gave that out as a play. I'm kind of mad that I didn't on Detroit there. Detroit, they're coming off a win over Seattle, but I mean, do you think they're really going to care that much about that win over Seattle? Nah, I think they're going to be focused on this really hot Islanders team that gave them basically their most embarrassing loss of the season. They're going to remember that. So, yeah, we're going to go with Detroit here. Money seemingly agrees. They're up from -125 to -130. 65% of tickets, 91% of the cash on Detroit Red Wings money line. Let's do it. What? Detroit lost 7-2 at the New York Islanders. So this is a revenge spot. This is a revenge spot for Detroit. What are you talking about, Jeffrey? Right here, 7-2. The Islanders won this game, and it was probably misleading because a 7-2 game is almost always misleading. Detroit outshot them, although granted Detroit was losing the game. Detroit was the way more physical team. They doubled the Islanders in hits in the game. It was a fairly misleading result in that game. So that on top of everything I just said, you're going to take the Islanders, go ahead. You're going against me. You're going against the market read. You're going against a very strong situation on Detroit. You're burned out. I'm burnt out, man. I would certainly, obviously, I'm going to recommend not taking the Islanders. Absolutely not. And revenge also does. Even if it was a revenge spot for the Islanders, I would still probably take Detroit here. That just adds to the situation there. But the spot for the Islanders is horrendous. It's a huge letdown spot to begin with. The revenge just makes it even more juicy. But yeah, the revenge spot. I wouldn't care that much about the revenge spot, except for the fact that it was the worst loss that Detroit took this entire season. It was just totally embarrassing. So I think that does add to it. New Jersey at Florida. New Jersey, we know they're without Jack Hughes now. We had Tampa Bay against them on Tuesday, and that was a win on the show here. Good win for Tampa Bay there, 5-1. So the Devils are coming off of that. I thought the Devils might be looking ahead a little bit to Florida, though, because Florida is the two-time returning champs. So the Devils, they could be in a bounce-back spot now, too. So I do expect focus. They just lost by 4 goals. That is a good angle in hockey. Teams that are off like a 4+ goal blowout loss, they do tend to bounce back pretty well. So New Jersey is in that spot. For Florida, I don't think the spot is that bad for Florida either. They did just win what looks like a good win, a high-scoring game. The public loves high-scoring games, but it was just Vancouver. Florida beat them 8-5. I just don't think they're going to care that much about it. However, they might care about the fact they have Edmonton up next, but I just don't know if Florida's going to overlook New Jersey, man. Florida did lose to New Jersey on October 16th at New Jersey, 3-1. Maybe they'll remember that. Yes, you could argue it's a look ahead to Edmonton, but I think Edmonton is going to be the team that's really looking ahead to Florida, I would say, which I haven't talked about Edmonton yet, but they are playing tonight as well. Florida, I don't know that they're going to overlook New Jersey, man. New Jersey did beat them, and New Jersey has a really good record, so I expect both teams to show up with focus here. So then the question is, well, which team is better? Although the answer to that is Florida, as the market is kind of telling you that, but they're down from -155 to -150, but the odds makers giving Florida more than home ice. They're telling you Florida's actually the better team. 60% of tickets, only 50% of the cash, though. So the actual money is taking New Jersey. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think New Jersey's in the stronger bounce-back spot. You're getting a decent underdog price there. I'll agree with New Jersey in that one, but it's not a strong opinion. Zach, what's up, man? Devils fan, Zach. I'll slightly lean that way, but not a strong opinion. St. Louis and Philadelphia. Man, there's so many games to get through here. Let's see. This game, I don't even know what to say for this game. St. Louis, they just lost on the road in overtime to Toronto. They played well in the game, I think. I haven't looked at the box score because I'm not that interested in this game. But, anytime you go to Toronto, they're an original 6 team. St. Louis not playing well. They took them into overtime. It was a big game for them. Now they got to play Philadelphia, although Philadelphia did just beat them at home 6-5 in a shootout, which was a loss for me on the show. I hated that, dude. That was the game where St. Louis was winning 5-3 with 3 minutes left in the game. Even though Philadelphia did outplay them statistically, St. Louis had that game in the bag and then blew it and lost in a shootout. I was pissed. because that was a play I gave out on the show. So St. Louis probably does remember that, and they'll want to return the favor. It's a quick revenge spot at Philly. So there is a reason why St. Louis might show up here. For Philly, I don't really think they're as good as their record looks, but they are in that spot where they lost by 4 goals in their last game. So they are kind of in a bounce-back spot after that, although they are also in a return-home spot where they've been away since last Friday, or since Friday, but they only played 2 games on the road trip, St. Louis and Dallas. And they were back-to-back, and since then they've had a bunch of days off. So they do have rest to try to break that losing momentum and recoup from that bad loss at Dallas. So there are some reasons why Philly might show up here, but it is still a return home spot. They've been away for about a week. Maybe they've been using this time to try to get the home stuff out of the way and focus here. But they do have the Devils up next, so it could be a look-ahead spot here too. So I think the lean in this game is St. Louis. That would be my opinion in this one. I don't want it, but Philadelphia up for minus 120 to minus 125. We don't see percentages yet here. I'll slightly lean to St. Louis at an underdog price there, but I don't love it. Edmonton, who I just mentioned, at Tampa Bay. Edmonton off to a rough start this season, man. They're coming off an ugly loss, 7-4 to Washington, which I already mentioned. But that was last night, and they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, 4th game in 6 days, 5th game in 8 days, 6th game in 9 days, and a 7th game in 11 days, all in different cities. So this spot, and it's the back-to-back, you got to think Edmonton's going to be a bit burned out here, man. I mean, even though I know you could argue they're in a bounce-back spot because they lost ugly yesterday, but they're going to put Pickard in net for this one, I assume, because they want Skinner for the Florida game as well. But, yeah, I mean, this looks like a bad spot for Edmonton, even though they did lose ugly last night. It was misleading. Florida's going to be a huge look-ahead spot, too. So now Edmonton's going down to Tampa Bay. Florida, this is the first time Edmonton's playing Florida since losing the Stanley Cup Finals again last year. So that is a huge revenge spot for Edmonton coming up there. I like Tampa Bay in this game. This is almost a play for me. Should I add it? I don't know. No, I'm going to skip it because Tampa Bay is off that really, really nice win over New Jersey, which we got right on the show. Now they get Edmonton. They do have Washington up next. They did beat Washington not that long ago, though. I don't believe they played Edmonton this year yet. Sure, they're going to still be focused probably on Edmonton. I do worry that it might be a little bit of a letdown after Tampa had such a good performance against New Jersey, though. So I'll stay off of it, but Edmonton is in a horrible spot. So I do like Tampa Bay in this game. I kind of like the over as well. I mean, you got 2 teams that definitely can put goals up, and that is really Edmonton's MO. We know that. And with Edmonton's backup goalie in there, I could see a lot of goals being scored here. I know 78% of tickets, there is a public over percentage there, and only 73% of the cash. Total sitting at 6. I still think it'll go over, but I think the Tampa Bay side is probably the better way to play it. But that one doesn't quite make my card. Tampa up for minus 150 to minus 160. 81% of tickets, 93% of the cash on Tampa. I do slightly worry about maybe Edmonton trying to show some focus here because of the loss yesterday, and Tampa maybe in a bit of a letdown spot. But other than that, I think it's a horrible spot for Edmonton. Major look-ahead component, and Edmonton lacking rest big time. Seattle at Chicago. This is one of the games where I just have I have no opinion on it, really. Seattle just lost to Detroit. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, really. I mean, will they bounce back from it? Maybe. It was a 4-2 loss to a good team, though. Chicago, I thought they were in a bad spot against Calgary, and they were able to get the win there against Calgary, 5-2, with Soderblom in net, too. So Knight will be back in net, so they will have their better goalie in net. Chicago did just lose at Seattle early in November 3rd, so it is a little bit of a quick revenge spot for Chicago. I guess maybe that's sort of the deciding factor. That and the money looks like it's sort of on Chicago. I don't want to do it, though, and I still think Chicago, their record is misleading, 10-5-4. I don't think they're as good as their record indicates right now. They're up for minus 110 to minus 112 here. 85% of tickets, 96% of the cash on Chicago. They did also have an empty net goal in that Calgary game that made it look a little bit more crazy. It's a stay away, though. I don't want anything to do with it. Rangers are on the road. So our friends, the Rangers, who are so good on the road, but they did just lose on the road in their last game. They're in Colorado now. They're having to go from losing in Vegas by 1 goal. So that was a big game. They played close. Now they got to go into elevation to play Colorado. It is not going to be easy. Even though I know the Rangers are very, very good on the road. I don't know about this game, man. Colorado, they've been like the best team in hockey, and they're very good at home. They have no regulation losses at home. They have 1 regulation loss on the entire season. And they're pretty well rested, having been rested since Sunday. The only problem with that for Colorado, is that Colorado's on a 6-game win streak. And when that's the case, you don't want to have that much of a break, man, sitting around at home and not doing anything. So that's the one issue I have with it, is that Colorado's momentum might be a little bit disrupted, or that's one issue I have with it. That winning momentum might get slowed down by having too much time off. Other than that, I do think it's not a very good spot for the Rangers, though. Colorado looks like they're taking some of the money up from -195 to -202 on the money line. Strong money line on Colorado, even though the Rangers have been very good on the road. 80% of the tickets, 97% of the cash on Colorado. I do think Colorado wins the game. I don't want to get involved in that, especially at that price. No way. Vegas is going to be at Utah. Vegas coming off beating the Rangers, like I said. They're starting the road trip now with some momentum, so could be a focus spot for them. When you start a road trip, usually you are focused. You want to play well to start the road trip, although they do face Anaheim next, and they did just lose at home to Anaheim not that long ago, so they might maybe be looking ahead, although maybe you don't overlook Utah because it's the start of the road trip. You want to get it off on the right foot. Utah's been pretty solid. Utah could arguably be in a bounce-back spot here because they've lost 3 games in a row, but they are returning from the Pacific Coast, and they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, all in different cities, with both of those previous 2 being in overtime, so I don't love that. They took that overtime loss to Anaheim, which we lost on the show, in the final seconds, losing the lead. Horrible. The game was over. I had it on, too. I was so pissed. That was going to be a 7-0 night on the show. And then we were I think we got into a hangover spot at least yesterday, not the day before that, though. Utah played San Jose after that, and I told you I thought Utah was going to be in a bit of a hangover after that, and San Jose did get the win. Vejmelka will be back in net for Utah here, I assume, because Vanacek played against San Jose in the back end of the back-to-back. Utah took that loss. That's an ugly loss, even though San Jose has a decent record right now. They're not good. So Utah might bounce back from that, but they are still returning from the Pacific Coast, although they were only away for 2 games that were back-to-back days. So I don't know if I consider that to really be a huge road trip return spot. I don't really expect them to overlook Vegas here either. So I think both teams are kind of in focus spots here. The money is coming in on Vegas, though. They're a road favorite, so the odds makers are telling you Vegas is actually the better team, despite being at Utah. 50% of tickets, 69% of the cash on Vegas, down from -114 to -111. I won't disagree because, after all, it is still a start of a road trip spot for Vegas versus a road trip return spot for Utah still. So, and maybe the public will expect Utah to bounce back now that they're back home. I'll slightly lean to Vegas, but I don't want it. Dallas at Vancouver. Dallas coming off that loss, as I showed you, to the Islanders, and that broke a long win streak, though. So Dallas had a 5-game win streak. So sometimes, again, when you have your win streak snapped, it can hang you over a little bit. Although they have had a day off, they're starting a road trip, so that does conflict with that. Like when you start a road trip, a lot of times it is a focus spot. So I can see reasons why Dallas will refocus. I can see reasons why they might be hung over here as well. Vancouver is coming back home from a road trip, though, so I think the spot is worse for Vancouver. They went out to the southeast, so that's like one of the longest road trips they can have. It wasn't a long road trip duration-wise starting on Friday, but they went to Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Florida. So the return home from that, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I mean, you have to cross multiple time zones. You have to fly. That's like the longest road trip in the NHL. Like Florida, like southeast Florida, all the way back up to Vancouver. I think that is literally the longest trip you can take in the NHL, so that's not easy. They do have Dallas here, so they should theoretically be focused, although They did actually win at Dallas back in October, so the only time they played this year, Dallas actually took the loss at home, so Dallas might be maybe a little bit more focused for that reason. I don't know if they're going to remember that much or not. Still, it's an opponent that you would usually focus on. It's just the return home spot is definitely difficult for Vancouver, so I'll lean to Dallas in the game. Dallas dropped from minus 150 to minus 137. 64% of tickets, 82% of the cash on Dallas. Money looks like it's coming in on Dallas. I'm going to agree with it, but it's not anything strong for me. My final play is going to be on Ottawa. We're going to do it again, and we're going to fade Anaheim at home, man. Something's got to give here. I know Ottawa's mediocre on the road. I know Anaheim's great at home, 7-1. We should have had the win going against them. Going against them with Utah the other night. Something's got to happen, man. And the money's agreeing with Ottawa here, and Ottawa's a favorite. So again, the odds makers are telling you that you should not buy into Anaheim's hot start to the season, man. The odds makers are still telling you Anaheim is not that good of a team, as they're now an even bigger underdog this time than they were. Well, the Utah game, I think, closed at minus 128. So in that one, the money agreed with me, and we beat the closing line. This one, Ottawa's already sitting at minus 125. They got 55% of the cash on them, 71% of the tickets on Anaheim. It looks very enticing to take Anaheim at home, where they essentially don't lose at an underdog price. This line looks so crazy. Like, how could Ottawa, with a mediocre record, be a road favorite against an Anaheim team that doesn't lose at home and has a really good record? Something really, really stinks about that line. So, yeah, the public is not going to want anything to do with it. The odds makers are telling you something with that line, and I would listen to them. In this case, Ottawa's had a ton of days off. They haven't played since Saturday, and they're starting a road trip, so I like that. Even though, yes, it's a late game having to go to the Pacific Coast, but hopefully they already got out there like a day or two ago to adjust to the time zone, because I think this spot is good, man. They last lost at home in a shutout, 1-0 to LA, so I think it's a good spot for them. Having a bunch of days off after you lost, it can break that losing momentum. Starting a road trip, you get to leave home. That's also a positive. Helps you refocus on hockey. Anaheim's been good, so they should focus on Anaheim here for that reason. San Jose up next probably won't be anything to be looking ahead to. The spot looks really good for Ottawa to me, except for the fact they have to shift time zones. For Anaheim, they just won against Boston last night, unfortunately, against my Bruins. The Bruins actually outplayed Anaheim in a lot of aspects of that game, man. Another home game that Anaheim could have lost last night. Bruins tied it after they were down 3-1, and they lost in the last several minutes of the game. Not happy about it as a Bruins fan. The Bruins almost had that game. The Bruins were the more physical team, so Anaheim had to play that game last night, and they got beaten up in the game. So now they're coming off a lucky win over Utah, basically, in the return home spot. They won again against Boston, who physically beat them up yesterday. And now they have a third game in 4 days with no time off. They got to face Ottawa, who's an Eastern Conference team. And up next, Anaheim's got Vegas, who they did beat in Vegas on November 8th. But that's a big game against Vegas, man. I think that's a divisional game. That's a huge game. And Vegas is the team that's closest to them in the standings in their division, too. So, yeah, I think they might overlook Ottawa here, man. And Ottawa's got kind of a mediocre record. Much, much better spot for Ottawa. That'll be on the card. That's the final play for me today, though. And then LA is at San Jose. I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about this one. LA coming off losing to Washington. Kind of a difficult loss there. That broke a 4-game win streak as well. So LA finishing up a road trip. Also coming all the way back from the East Coast. Weird spot for LA. Being all the way out in the East Coast since all the way back on November 9th. And now they're coming back to the Pacific time zone, but not home to face San Jose. It's a very weird spot for LA, and that loss to Washington could disrupt their winning momentum there. Even though they have 2 days off here, they have to travel back across the country off a loss against a pretty decent Washington team that will disrupt their momentum potentially. I don't like it, man. And they got to play Boston tomorrow back home. So I think it's a bad spot for LA. San Jose, they're out on the Pacific Coast. They're already staying out there. They just came home, still won against Utah, despite it being a return home spot, because Utah was in that hangover spot after the Anaheim game. So San Jose caught them at a good time. But San Jose's staying at home. they're not going to overlook LA. LA beat them at home on October 28th, 4-3. I think the spot makes sense for San Jose. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be in any sort of letdown after a nice win over Utah. We'll see. But I like San Jose in that one. Money seems to agree. You're getting them at a huge underdog price if you do want San Jose. LA up from minus 175 to minus 180. So the odds makers are telling you that you should not buy into San Jose's record right now. Telling you they're not really as good as they seem. 57% of tickets on LA, 70% of the cash on San Jose. I agree with the San Jose spot. That one is one of the stronger leans, actually. San Jose and the Lightning. I would say the Lightning are the next strongest that's not on my card, and then San Jose is the next after that. So I don't really want to add them to my card, but if you want to go San Jose, make your own +1 puck line, something like that. Seems like a decent idea. You want to go real crazy and just go money line, I'm not going to tell you not to. There's a decent chance, I think, that they can get that win in that one. NBA, I don't have a whole lot, really. I don't have a whole lot to say in the NBA. I don't like this board at all. We got 4 games. The Clippers are at Orlando. Clippers have had 2 days off to kind of try to disrupt this losing momentum, although they're also coming off close games against Boston and Philadelphia. So I don't know, man. Are they going to bring focus for an Orlando game after those 2 fairly big games? I don't know. I mean, I think maybe you do focus on Orlando as well because they're starting to play well again. Orlando could be in a bit of a letdown because they just had that win as an underdog against Golden State, which was a bad call by me on the show. I thought the spot set up better for Golden State, and we took the loss in that one. That was not good. For Orlando, you got to, keep an eye on the injury situation. Banchero looks like he's still out until November 22nd. Kawhi Leonard is going to be out. What else is new for the Clippers? So no real change from one game to the next, though, between these 2 teams. It's a difficult read on this game, man. Both teams are in kind of difficult spots. The Magic went up from 4.5 to 5.5 here, but 83% of tickets, only 76% of the cash. So it looks like the money is kind of coming back on the Clippers in this one. I'm not totally sure I agree. Clippers have been really bad on the road at 1-5 on the road. Magic 5-3 at home. So there is a bit of a home road split in that game. Money is saying the Clippers plus the points. I could see the argument that the Magic are in a bit of a letdown spot. Maybe we'll overlook this Clipper team that has a really bad record. Who does Orlando have up next? I forget. They do have New York up next. So, yeah, I mean, given that, I guess I would agree leaning towards the Clippers. I don't want it, but, that is a potential look ahead to the Knicks. And then Boston, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago all coming up next. Those are bigger games. They're all in-conference games for Orlando there. They did beat the Knicks last time they played them, though, but still could definitely be a look ahead there. Orlando caught their balance. It seems like they're starting to play slower again, which is what they were doing up until this year. I don't know. It's weird, but I'll lean to LA plus the points, but I don't want it. They're bad on the road, too, so I can't really... I don't know. I'm not going to do it, even though I know I'm fading Anaheim as a really good home team. The Kings, I forgot to talk about this game on the show yesterday, dude. Dude, I was right about all the games yesterday, right? The NBA game. Dude, I think my read on the NBA was really good yesterday. I think I got almost every NBA game right against the spread yesterday. And I would have had this one correct as well because Sacramento snuck within that number there. My read on this game yesterday was basically just that the line was too high. It was like 18.5. Sabonis was out for Sacramento, but Sacramento, when they played at Oklahoma City with Sabonis, when they played at Oklahoma City with Sabonis, Sacramento actually played them to within 6, but that line was way, way shorter. That line was 8.5. So now you're telling me that last night Oklahoma City deserved to be 10 points greater of a favorite there, basically with the personnel change, basically just being Sabonis out, and I think maybe some additional injuries on the OKC side. That line seemed way too high. Sacramento did cover, but now they're in a back-to-back off of that, so that's not great, having to travel from OKC to Memphis. They played decently against OKC last night, losing by 14. That's about the best you can ask for. Without Sabonis, Now they got Memphis, and then up next they're going to have Denver and Minnesota. So Sacramento might look past Memphis, man. I mean, Memphis just hasn't been good. This doesn't look like a great spot for Sacramento here. It's on a back-to-back. Sabonis might come back here, though. So if he's going to play, I mean, he was out yesterday with the knee thing. But if he's going to play, that means he's fresh because he didn't play yesterday. So that would actually help Sacramento, even though you could argue it's also the reverse injured player spot with him coming back after they actually played fairly well without him last night. So a lot of conflicting things going on in this game. Both these teams have really horrendous records, too. Memphis should have covered for us on Tuesday, man. That was awful, the way that they blew this cover in this game against the Spurs. I mean, Memphis could have won this game outright, dude. Memphis was winning most of the first half. They had the lead during a lot of the second half, including late in the game. And then they were still winning by 2, I think, or they were winning by 1, I guess, with 3:13 left in the game. And then they never scored again, and San Antonio finished the game on an 11-0 run. I mean, come on, man. With the Grizzlies being +6, that really pissed me off. Yeah, I mean, the Grizzlies out-rebounded San Antonio 59-38 in the game. Plus 21 rebounding edge. And Memphis also had 104 field goal attempts to 87 from the Spurs. So they had 17 more field goal attempts. Yeah, and they still, wound up losing the game, losing and not covering. Absolutely ridiculous. No way that the Grizzlies shouldn't have covered that, but I'm just ranting. That was a horrible beat. I hated that. We absolutely should have had the cover with Memphis. But now Memphis is returning over from a road trip, which obviously I don't like. They have been on the road since last Tuesday. Not good. I mean, you come back home, you tend to be a little bit distracted. So this is a bad spot for both teams. I mean, I don't want anything to do with the game. When it's a bad spot for both teams, I always just kind of say over. But we have 69% of tickets on the over, 65% of the cash on the under. Read into that what you want to, I guess. So the total up a little bit to 235.5. I don't know if John Morant is coming back or not. Seems like the team has more chemistry with him out, though. He's out for a while, so he's not coming back. I don't even know if he's hurt or if Memphis just doesn't like him because he just wrecks teams' chemistries, dude. I think Memphis is trying to trade him. I think he's not even actually hurt. He's hurt. So I think not having him in the lineup is actually helpful. But that all being said, 71% of tickets are on the Grizzlies, 68% of the cash on the Kings. The money's coming back, taking the points of the Kings. I don't want either side in that one. I don't even know what else to say about that game. Harden was really good against the Sixers. Yeah, his former team. I mean, really talented player. I mean, he obviously has good. He has really good games in him there. Philadelphia at Milwaukee. I expect both of these teams to show up for this one, man. Although Philadelphia's on a back-to-back. They lost to Toronto yesterday, which I said that I thought that might happen. And for Philadelphia, this is a back-to-back, and yes, it is with travel, which isn't great. They got to go out to Milwaukee. But this is one where you got to look at the injury report because Embiid and George both didn't play yesterday. Oubre will be out, by the way. I don't know. How long has he been out? I don't even know. He's been out only since the 14th. But the rest of these guys are still there for the Sixers. The rest of these guys might be there for the Sixers. Embiid and George, I mean, they didn't play yesterday, but it might have also been kind of like, yeah, they're injured, but we wanted to rest them. Although the last time I said that, it tricked me, and the team didn't play them in the next game. But Paul George just came back not that long ago. I think he will actually play in this game, would be my guess. Embiid, I'm not so sure. I mean, Embiid has a bad knee, and I don't know. I mean, maybe they will still use him. Something is going on here because the Sixers are up from 1 to 2.5 here. So there are definitely injury situations that you have to be aware of in this game. But I think it's throwing off the line to such a degree that I don't even know what to think. 62% of the tickets are on the Sixers. 62% of the cash, on the Sixers. 51% of the cash on the Bucks. I mean, do you really want to lay points with the Sixers at Milwaukee, though? I mean, I don't think I do. Although, of course, one of the big things is that Giannis is definitely not playing in this game for Milwaukee. He has, what is his injury? I don't even know. a groin strain. Sounds painful. That happened in the last game, though. So this is the injured player theory spot then for the Bucks, right? So you got Philadelphia on a back-to-back, and while, George and Embiid might come back, and they're going to be rested if they come back because they didn't play yesterday, but the Bucks, they're going to step up their effort. The first game here without Giannis again here, you're going to get an injured player spot out of the Bucks here. Bucks are coming off that game against Cleveland, which I know that was a difficult game. Tough loss against Cleveland, but they've had multiple days off. They're only returning home from a one-game road trip to Cleveland, so not really a road trip return spot. I think they will step up their game in the injured player spot. I would probably take the points with Milwaukee. I think the line, overall the line's just going to move too much in favor of the Sixers here, pretty much based on the Giannis injury, so I would gauge that as an overreaction and probably take the points with Milwaukee. I don't want to do it, though. There are just a lot of moving pieces in that game that I don't like, which happens a lot in the NBA. Although I've been really good in the NBA just for the entire time I've been doing it. So even though this is the new NBA. And then Atlanta Hawks are going to be at the San Antonio Spurs. Both teams without their star players here. Trae Young is not going to be back yet for Atlanta. Wemby is out for a while for San Antonio, which sucks because he's a star, dude. We want to see him keep playing. Atlanta, they're coming off a loss that broke a 5-game win streak for them, although it was also in a road trip return spot. Atlanta had a really hot road trip. They came back home, and I always talk about how bad the road trip return spot is. I don't know if they were unfocused, but they lost the game just maybe due to all that travel and whatever. They lost to Detroit. Jeffrey, I think, called that one correctly. Atlanta could be in a bit of a hangover, though, after losing that game, losing their win streak, although you could argue sometimes when a team comes back home, they do bounce back in the next game, although in this case, they're going back out on the road. So a lot of travel for Atlanta. That worries me a little bit. But usually the first game of a road trip, you are focused. So I can see the argument for it being a bounce back spot for the Spurs here. The Spurs coming off that win that probably shouldn't have been a win that I'm still pissed about against Memphis. Spurs did that. They looked a little bit too good in that one. They're staying at home here. They got Atlanta. They do have to face Phoenix up next, starting a road trip up on Sunday against a team that's been fairly decent in their conference there, in the Western Conference. So, for this game, I'll agree with the Hawks. Although the line looks like it dropped from 5 to 1. Although I think that 5 must have been that might have been what it was going to be with Wemby in the lineup. I don't know, because he's recently injured, so now it's 1, but the money is coming in on the Hawks. I'm not going to disagree with it in this one. 61% of the tickets are on the Spurs, 72% of the cash coming in on the Hawks, though. Money looks like it's on the Hawks. The public wants San Antonio because they have the better record. They're really good at home, 7-2, but the Hawks, like I just pointed out on their road trip, the Hawks are really good on the road for whatever reason. 7-2 on the road for the Hawks, so Hawks seem to have a weird home-road split where they're way better on the road. Some injury news here, though. I mean, Porzingis has been dealing with an injury. What else is new? So you got to watch for that. For the Spurs, besides Wemba, of course, this is besides Wemba and Trae Young, which we know those guys are both out for their respective teams here. For the Spurs, though, Castle is out still for, if that's how you pronounce his name. He's still out for the Spurs. So, I'm not getting involved in the NBA tonight, though. All right. College football, we have one game here, and it's not MAC, so at least that's a little bit better. This is a Sun Belt game between Louisiana Lafayette at Arkansas State. This is an interesting one, man. Both teams are coming out of byes. Louisiana's 4-6, so technically they can get to a bowl game if they win their last 2 games, which is certainly possible because they should beat UL Monroe at home in their home finale because UL Monroe sucks, so Louisiana should be a favorite there. Against Arkansas State, they're a slight road underdog, so this is winnable. But Louisiana went into the bye on a strong note. They pulled off 2 straight upsets against South Alabama and Texas State. So I talked about how Texas State kept losing as a favorite, really underperforming, and they finally did get that huge win against Southern Miss. So I should have added that to my card on Saturday. I almost did. That Texas State spot, really good spot, and they wound up winning outright easily. So But back to Louisiana, they went into the bye on a strong note. They haven't played since November 8th, and I talk about this. When a team goes into the bye on a good note like that, especially off of 2 straight upsets, I don't think that's a good thing, man. And in this game, Texas State outgained them 528 to 384. So Louisiana was not as good in that game as it looked like on the scoreboard. So I don't think that bye came at a good time for them. I think that could kill their momentum a little bit, even though they should still be focused against Arkansas State. Louisiana's still trying to make a bowl, even though I know they made one last year or whatever. That's still one of their goals. And I think they got annihilated in their bowl game last year, so they want to get back to one. Also, I mean, they have the chance to play spoiler against Arkansas State because Arkansas State still could potentially win the Sun Belt West, although it's going to be tricky. But because Southern Miss did lose to Texas State, Southern Miss Southern Miss could have wrapped it up, but now they're in position where they might still lose it. Now, for Arkansas State here, they're also coming out of a bye, but they went into the bye on an uglier note. Whoops, I just went back to Louisiana there. Arkansas State, yeah, they're 5-5, so they've been in bowls the last few years too. I think they won their bowl last year too, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they're trying to get back to a bowl as well. They want to get their 6th win, but they also did go into the bye on a note where they had lost to Southern Miss, so I could kind of see that going both ways. Because that was a big game. That was one of the biggest games on their schedule, and they barely lost by 6 points. So for Arkansas State, yes, they went into the bye on a losing note, so that having the bye might help them get over that loss, and they might use that bye to fix some things. So that bye could be a positive, but it could be like a lasting hangover, man, from that loss to Southern Miss, because that was pretty brutal. Because if they'd beaten Southern Miss, they would actually be atop the Sun Belt West right now because they'd have the tiebreaker against them, and they'd be tied record-wise. So that's crazy. So now what needs to happen is Arkansas State, they need to win and have Southern Miss lose. I think Arkansas State they basically need to win out, I think, and they need Louisiana to lose one game. Like, that's basically going to be the way that Arkansas State can actually still get to the Sun Belt Championship now. It's unlikely, although when teams are in a spot like that, like I talk about, teams are not mathematically eliminated, but they don't control their own destiny, and they actually need help. In this case, they're going to need Southern Miss to lose. That's actually a good thing because the team can actually play looser because they don't have as much pressure on them because it's almost like it's out of their hands. You know what I mean? Like, you can focus on winning the game, but you need other things to happen that are out of your control. That's actually a better spot to be in. And this is an ESPN game. This is a highlight game, man. They get to host a game on ESPN. Arkansas State has not done that all year. They played one of these midweek primetime games at South Alabama earlier this year on one of the lesser ESPN channels probably. But this is literally on ESPN competing with the NFL game tonight, and it's the only college football game tonight. So that's a big deal. So I think Arkansas State will show up for that reason. And it's senior night. Although I know, like, their quarterback is only a junior, whatever, but it's still senior night, and teams do step up for senior night. I think that will especially be the case when it's on ESPN. So there are more positives here, I think, for Arkansas State than there are for Louisiana. So that's my lean. It's not a play, but Arkansas State down from 3 to 2.5. 2.5 with juice. I don't know if you'll get the 2.5 on it. You could go money line if you want it, or lay the 3. I do lean that way to Arkansas State. 79% of tickets, 81% of the cash on them. They are a little bit public, but I think the spot is better for them. 68% of tickets, only 50% of the cash on the over. Money coming in a little bit on the under at 54.5, which is a somewhat high total. Don't really have a feel for the I don't have a feel for the total in this one, though. I mean, I won't really disagree with an under in this one, but I just don't have a feel for it, man. I think Arkansas State is the side that I would lean to, though. And then we do have the NFL game. This one, I was considering adding this to my card. I don't think I could do it, though. We have Bills-Texans. Bills were initially a 2.5-point favorite, I think, because of the Texans' quarterback uncertainty. So odds makers kind of threw it out there almost in, like, no man's land. Well, not no man's land, but kind of in the middle of where it would be. Like, I think the Bills would probably be closer to a pick 'em if C.J. Stroud was coming back. But now because it's Davis Mills again, Mills against the Bills, now the line is 5.5. I mean, that seems like an overreaction to me, man. Davis Mills hasn't been that bad, even though I know he's not as good as Stroud, but this line to me seems way high, especially given the fact that the Texans are a really good defensive team, and they are the better defense of these two teams. I know the Bills are a great offense. The Bills have the way better offense, and that's why the public wants them. 74% of the tickets, only 71% of the cash. The Bills are very public. It's one of those primetime anti-public home underdogs, man. And you know, I'm pretty much always going to pretty much side with the home underdog here, although I know I didn't with the Dallas versus the Raiders game on Monday. I thought that was a strong spot for Dallas. This one, I do like the Texans plus the points here, man. The total's not very high at 43.5. Better defense, getting points is a big thing. I mean, that was, of course, not the case with the Raiders, really. Raiders defense might actually not even be... They might be worse than the Dallas defense at this point. Dallas looks like they're starting to improve their defense, so we can't make fun of them as much now. Now, for the spot here, Buffalo, nice win for them against Tampa Bay, man. It was maybe somewhat misleading because Buffalo did get a late touchdown to cover the spread at the end and win by 12. The game was a lot closer than that. Tampa Bay actually was winning by 1 in the fourth quarter. It was a big game between two MVP candidates, Mayfield against Allen. That was a big game. Buffalo got it done. They did outgain Tampa Bay, so it wasn't like totally misleading, but they only outgained them by whatever that is, less than 50 yards. I mean, Buffalo won the game. They covered, slightly misleading, I would say, even though I got that pick right in the pick'em pools and whatever. It wasn't one of my stronger leans or anything like that, but I did lean to Buffalo laying the points. And that was the one game where I really faded the market read last week, and I maybe got a little bit lucky on it, but won. But now Buffalo's coming off that. It was also a high-scoring game, and I think the public's going to give Buffalo a lot of credit for that win. That was a big win over Tampa Bay, and they looked really good in scoring 44 points, man. They are going to face Pittsburgh up next, which is not a primetime game, though. So I don't know how much of a look-ahead spot that really is, although Pittsburgh... I believe Pittsburgh is still leading their division, though. So they're leading the AFC North, and it might be Aaron Rodgers back, although I think Aaron Rodgers is out this week because he broke his wrist, his non-throwing wrist. Maybe it's a look ahead for Buffalo. I don't know, man. Do they overlook Houston, who's sitting at 5-5? Maybe. And Houston's coming off a real ugly game against Tennessee, man. And remember, I gave out Tennessee last week as one of my actual plays, and Tennessee got the job done. It was an ugly 16-13 win for Houston. Tennessee had chances to win that game. They covered. I know nobody wanted Tennessee last week. I know how ugly that was, but I thought the spot was really bad because Houston was coming off that really big comeback against division rival Jacksonville, and then they had to go to Tennessee, who they already beat in a shutout earlier this year, and they had to turn around quickly and play Buffalo on Thursday. So it was a bad spot. It was a sandwich spot there. Thank you, Jeffrey. I'm considering giving this out as a play as I talk through this. Thank you for hanging out, man. I don't know. Am I about to? Maybe. I kind of like this one, man. I mean, Houston, I mean, they just look so ugly. A 16-13 win over Tennessee looks so much worse than a 44-32 win over Baker Mayfield in Tampa. The public perception on this game is so skewed. 6 is better than 5.5, but at least it's not 7 that we missed out on. Yeah, this is at home. I mean, the one thing is Houston did beat Buffalo at home last year, but do you think is that really going to set up that much of a revenge spot for Buffalo? Do they really care that much that they lost a midseason game by like 3 points or whatever it was at Houston last year? I'm not so sure. And of course, Buffalo might think that it's going to be a bit easier because it is not C.J. Stroud. It's Davis Mills, although like I said, he hasn't been that bad. Like his passing totals have actually been pretty much in line with what Stroud's have been. And that lower passing total was Mills after he replaced Stroud against Denver. So, and, you know, Buffalo, I mean, they're not a great defense, so Mills probably should be able to move the ball here a bit. I don't know what other injury concerns there are on this Houston offense here. They've been getting a little bit healthier, at least. For Houston, what are we looking at here? Bills, by the way, I believe the Bills are benching Keon Coleman. Did I see that right? And they're still without Curtis Samuel, Dalton Kincaid. For Houston, I mean, aside from Stroud, their injury report on offense at least doesn't look as significant. So, yeah, for Houston, it's not as bad. I mean, Houston got some of their wide receivers back. Nico Collins is back. Tank Dell, I don't know when he's ever going to come back. He's been out all season, though, so that doesn't really matter. They do have Christian Kirk, and Jaden Higgins has been stepping up. So this Houston offense is actually a little bit better than people think it is. And for the Bills, I don't know if that Keon Coleman thing was right, but let me look. Where is he at? Here he is. Let me see. Keon Coleman. Oh, they sat him in the last game. Yeah, whatever. That was what I saw. They sat him in the last game because he was late to a meeting or something, but he will play in this game probably. But I don't know if that's really that big of a deal anyway. You know what? Let's do it. Because I don't like the NFL board this week, and this is actually one of the stronger opinions I have. Let me see. Let's do it. We'll have some primetime NFL action here. Mr. Thursday Night needs to return here for this one, man, because, of course, I'm 9-1-1 giving out the spread leans on the Thursday night games, and I'm 2-0 in the actual plays. It looks like the sixes are gone. You got to take 5.5, unfortunately, but I don't know. I mean, you could wait, and maybe the 6 will come back. But we'll do the 5.5 on the show for now. But if you wait, you can get a 6. It's a little bit more key. No real reason to not wait, really, to see if the 6 comes back, because 6 is a little bit more key than 5. Like, if it drops to 5 or 4.5, I don't think that's as big of a deal as even 6. So, but we'll give it out a 5.5 now, at least, and then I'll update the description if I do get the 6 there. I try to tell you guys when, because timing is a huge thing here too. But we're going to do it. Houston plus the points. I think the line's definitely an overreaction. So we got a bunch of plays today. And that's going to do it, man. Once again, the plays. I got to get this video out on Instagram for Southern Indiana. I don't even know if the market's going to wind up in line with me. But Southern Indiana plus the points in college basketball. USC minus the points. St. Joseph's plus the points. Those lines at 9.5, 18.5, and 9 currently. Hockey, we got money line on Montreal, Detroit, and Ottawa. All 3 money line plays. And NFL, Houston plus the points. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter, Learn to Toad on Instagram. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I appreciate it. Another 2-hour show. I thought it was going to be less than that today. College basketball is such a grind, dude. Hopefully we have less tomorrow. Usually Friday's pretty light on college basketball, but it's heavy on NBA for the most part. I'll be back then. But yeah, like, subscribe to the show here. Give me good comments. Give me a good review on iTunes, Spotify, Apple, and Spotify. I mean, that all helps me out too. Listening over there helps me out. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. You can check that out too. Although I know I haven't been very active because of my voice. Got to do something about it, man. And this show doesn't help. I don't know. I got to relax a bit and stop exerting myself. I don't know. I talk loud. I mean, I got to settle down. Whoo! Breathe. Maybe my voice, maybe I can lower my voice a little bit and not exert myself as much. We'll see. Patreon.com/LearnToToad, and you can get bonus Uke content there. I got a Uke Spotify feed there, and I got prioritized requests. That's going to do it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow. Like I said, peace for now, guys.